sound. Yeah. Okay, welcome everyone. It's 2nd of August, and I am so thrilled to welcome the IFRC International Federation of the Red Cross's Digital Innovation Lead, Heather Leson. I'm going to turn it over to her very quickly because we have a great session today to hear more about the recently launched data playbook. It is a treasure trove of good content information. It is publicly available. It is on GitHub. We hope that you will use it, fork it, adapt it to your own work. And within it are many modules that are 45 minutes a piece that you can use to train your own team or go through some of these exercises for your own data journey. And the topic today is exploring your team's data journey. Heather's going to run us through a bit of background and then some exercises, which is fantastic. So I am Catherine Townsend. I'm one of the co-founders of Open Data Collaboratives. We work with governments, nonprofits, private sector, many groups to try to get more free, open, shared information available and used around the world. And in the case of Africa Open Data Collaboratives, very specifically with partners across the continent. So with that, I think if you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves in the chat, this is, but I'll turn it over to Heather now to take us away. Thank you.
Thanks, Kat, and just thanks for inviting me to come and join your circle. I'm more than certain there's a data playbook in each one of you. I started out actually working with open data and part of Humanitarian Open Street along with Jeffrey and Amadou. And believe it or not, I felt that didn't quite understand why open data wasn't a complete understood thing. And so I ended up going on a beautiful journey of open data to open source, to research, to humanitarian work. And along that journey, the IFRC's digital transformation strategy has open data and open source in it. And the data playbook is part of that story. How do you help a large humanitarian organization get more comfortable with data? Well, that's an everyday job. How do you help your teams get better with data? When I joined the Red Cross Red Crescent, they said, hey, let's focus on data science and AI and build a network around that. And I said, well, what do people really want to learn? And they said, well, we don't know. And I said, well, what are people already teaching each other? We don't know. And I said, well, let's go ask them. And so that became 6 years from a beta project up to the V1, which we just launched. I just dropped a link into the chat there for you. It's 120 exercises, games, scenarios, slides, and checklists to help teams on the data journey. Now, this was created for and by the Red Cross Red Crescent with a couple of partners, some friends and allies. We actually created something called the Data Literacy Consortium. So other people who are trying to teach and train around data literacy skills, we certainly have done some activities with them, and I'm gonna shout out to Amadou in a little bit about that. Just on note, Amadou, I did forewarn you. So we ran pilot workshops around the world and refined the training, and so there's a lot of training out there about how to use Excel. There's lots of demos about Tableau. But what we really wanted to do is go deeper into the conversation. So it really is short, brief conversations you can have around across the whole data life cycle. There is slides in there about open data, explaining what open data is. I ran the first open data event at IFRC in 2017, and I brought in our friends from the Humanitarian Data Exchange. I brought in some other colleagues in humanitarian groups and a tech company. And we just all presented how we were already using open data as part of our work, and started as an assumption that this is part of the menu of options. Now, with data protection, you can't always have open data, but we really should talk about what can we share and when can we share and how can we share. And so the playbook really was that journey to say, how do we get better at our data skills across an organization, across a bunch of different teams? It wasn't just the information management teams or the data analysis. It was our friends in the cash transfer, friends in health, people who are working on migration, people who are working on evaluation. And then I personally am in innovation, and so the innovation teams. How can we have a little bit more fun? And so we're going to come to fun in a little bit. If you're interested in the methodology, we're writing a methodology report soon. But I also have these slides on methodology, which you can take a look at. It just explains the kind of tenements is that, to summarize, the playbook was the product that we made. The actual hack, the actual innovation was getting the teams to create it together, to learn some shared facilitation skills and to be owners, right? So now we've launched a product with owners already at the front of it. And I think when you work in open data, you really have to have that buy-in and the advocacy. You really have to have those conversations around where do you want to go today? How can I meet you halfway? What's the topic that really matters to you? And then tailor your conversation. So that's how the playbook was made. Really, really fast speed. But I'm going to just ask Amadou, who came to a workshop before he joined the Red Cross in Senegal, where we were testing out some ideas, and ask him if he has any reflections about what was it like to be part of one of the pilots, which became the playbook.
Thank you very much, Heather. Just confirm you can hear me well, guys.
I can hear you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so hi everyone. I'm really happy to participate on this. I think my first AODC was in Dar es Salaam, right? It was the physical conference in 2015, and yeah, I'm so happy this is really still going, and yeah, so I think I was, so back the time I was working with the Center for the Humanitarian Data, the HGX lab in Dakar, and I think the workshop for us was very important because one of our objective was not only to allow humanitarian organization to have an open platform where they can publish their data and also get other data, but also to build skills based on data. And I think those two objects, it's hard to just evaluate how everything went. But what I can say is, in terms of users, we had so many people and organizations coming from different organizations that are working in the humanitarian context and based in Dakar. But I remember well, we have even the Senegal National Statistic Agency. So just to say that there were really very big interest in that workshop, and so in terms of the different, let's say, presentation that we had, just the global objective is back then in terms of HDX part, what we wanted was, as I said, to present at least one of open data platform that people can access and publish data with different type of data. But also, even you remember well, Heather, we had also an OpenStreetMap workshop. So trying to, quickly show people what really the project is, how to contribute, and also how to get OpenStreetMap data. And yeah, so I think globally, and after the workshop also, we had a lot of engagement from other organizations that did not participate, for example, in the workshop, but just heard about it and then really wanted to engage. So I think we had, I can't say now, but we had a lot of other training for other organizations. And also in terms of data, we had the Senegalese and also joined HDX and publishing open data in HDX. We had I just don't have the statistics now, but yeah, the engagement was really high after that workshop. And also in terms of the center, I think other workshop like the same was planned, and then one was also organized in Nairobi. So just to say, really, it was so great, and this. And the playbook now, I mean, I don't know what are the strategy for just sharing it with others, but I think there might not be that, but it was not back then, an objective to have this that was communicated to the participant. But I think we could still share really the link and all the different products with them. I don't know if you have any other question. I can still, but otherwise, that's what I can say.
Thanks, Amadou. For me, I feel this is the first time, by the way, that I'm hearing what he's saying about the outcomes afterwards. I think when you run any workshop or any event, what you want to do is have the network thrive afterwards and actually have a little bit of fun. I think especially in the humanitarian space, it's rough going, the topics we're dealing with some days. If you think about the social change or social justice needs that are happening in the communities around the world, I think having a sense of play and having fun while making it as an inclusive conversation and giving shared ownership and really listening to communities, that's the one thing that I enjoyed the most. And I was in the Nairobi workshop as well. But just to say that we partnered with the Humanitarian Data Exchange for a number of the pilot exercises, which are noted in the playbook. And I think this brings up one really important lesson. The space between us and our organizations and our priorities is actually a rich space. If you can find that time to bring unlike people together to talk about it and to learn, you actually get some really deep roots. And I think the playbook becomes that kind of trigger point for, how might we work a little bit better as communities. And I was very excited to have such a diverse group of people in that room. And that's just one room, right? I think we're in many rooms these days. But any questions for Amadou before I move on to the next part of it? And hi, Laura. It's a small town, I'll tell you. Questions for Amadou? I'm sure you will always be able to find him because he's part of your network already. So with that, what I'm hoping, Kat, to do is I want to demonstrate. I can talk about the playbook or I can demonstrate it. So I brought tools to our workshop. I have a peach, I have a lime, and I have an avocado. Okay, we're going to do a quick exercise. So Kat, I'm wondering if you can put people into 3 rooms. Okay, if it's possible, we're going to do a quick 15-minute demonstration on how to have a common conversation around data, which actually makes people who are uncomfortable with data, especially think about your government friends, like having a government conversation. If you bring a bag of fruit to your government conversation, is that the right place to start? Maybe a little further down the road, but it actually does go really well. Trust me on this. And so this is one of our most popular exercises in the playbook. And so we use what we have. And so usually I usually use apples or oranges, but I don't have them in my house right now. So pardon me, we're going to have 3 groups. We're going to have one group that's a peach. Okay. One group's going to be an avocado and the other group's going to be a lime. Okay. When you're in your groups, what you're going to do is describe all the data about the piece of fruit. So what that means is, and I must look like a crazy person holding up fruit in this video. I hope that there's a screenshot somewhere to make sure that I'm shamed on the internet for the rest of my life. I'm just kidding. So what you want to do is describe all the data. What does it look like? What does it smell like? How is it used? I guarantee that if you don't have a list of 20 items, I'd be shocked, absolutely shocked. And then we'll come back and report back on what kind of data do we have, right? Does that make sense for everybody in terms of it? We're going to describe an item, and then we're going to come back and talk about what did we learn about our data set. We're going to try merging the data set at the same time when we come back to plenary. So we'll just spend like 10 minutes. That way you can talk to somebody who maybe you don't know, because I don't know if you all know each other. And I love talking to strangers in smaller groups. Some people aren't great at large groups, but you didn't enable breakouts? Okay, that's okay. We can do this together. Okay. So
yeah, it's up to you. It seems like what I would have to do is ask everybody to rejoin. So I'd have to enable breakout rooms.
No, it's okay. It's okay. We can do this together. Okay. So we're going to do this together. So what this is going to ask you to use chat. So we're going to make it interactive differently. And what I will tell you about Interactive Differently, for those of you that are facilitators, I once ran a data AI workshop in the desert when there was a power outage with no slides and a marker. And I got 10 minutes notice. So you just make it happen. You just make it happen. Okay, so in the chat, don't be shy. Tell me all the data about this avocado. Okay, I have not cut it open. Okay, all the data about the avocado you can think about. How do you describe it? What does it smell like? How do you cut it? Is it a fruit or a vegetable? Color, tone. It is ripe, Jeffrey. Yes, I know you can't squeeze it. Okay, great. Usages, that's good. Catherine says it's black. What else is it? In terms of color? Texture is rough, that's right. So it's got, yeah, it's a fruit. Okay, it's a costly fruit. Oh dear, it has a stone, so it's a stone fruit. Okay, what color is it inside? I should go get a knife. It's green. Okay, it's purple. It's purple black. You're right, Florence. It's creamy. Okay. So anything else that we can say about the fruit? Now, what can we do with it? Remember, we have to do things with data. So can you hold up a bookshelf with it? No. It's green or yellow, yeah. Or black if you haven't done it well. You can eat it, you can make a salad. Great. Does it grow in Kenya, my Kenyan friend, Laura? I think I had avocados in Kenya. Was that wrong? It tastes sour. You can run a workshop with it. You can. Cheap is cheap. Okay, where else does it grow? Is there different kinds of avocados around the world? Yes, on your face. Well done, Victor. It grows in Uganda. Perfect. I once saw somebody make jewelry out of this, out of the skin. They put shellac on it and they made jewelry out of it. All right. How are you feeling? Did we what data types did we miss? Maybe just come off of mute and just speak up if that's okay. We're a small group. Yes, you can make dye with it. That's true. You can make oil. See? Anybody else? What else did we miss? There's one. It's only one thing. You can eat the seed, really? Okay, so I said you can make art with it. Okay, that's the one thing that I saw was missed. Okay, we're gonna do one more. Unless there's anybody else who has any other avocado opinions or data that we missed. All right, we're gonna do a lime. There's no coconut, there's just lime. So, yes. So a lime, okay, very good, Slim. I think that's really a solid feedback in terms of how to eat it. So it's green, it's juice. What else is it? Is it green? Here, let's go better to the light. Yellow, it's green, yellow, it's a fruit. It's not a vegetable. Prevent scurvy. Can you make art out of it? You can make cocktails. I'm going to the pub later with my friends. You can make art with anything. All right. What are some nutritional values of it? You can make salads with it. Art is objective. It totally is. It totally is. You can make lemonade. Yeah, you can make limeade. Okay. Notice how we didn't talk about the nutritional value to our bodies with the avocado. Did anybody compare that yet? I don't think, maybe somebody go through the chat. Did we say anything about the health needs of the avocado? Now we're into deep health. Does anybody know which types of vitamins are in here? Yep. Okay. So What else do we miss about our lime? The size of it, yeah. It's small. It fits in the palm, yeah, both of them do. I have large fingers, like piano hands, so I can put both of my hands. There you go. So how are they different and how are they similar? This avocado and lime. It's true. How do they grow? Where do they grow? Do they grow in similar areas? Great. Okay, any other opinions on avocado and lime before we go back and say, why did we do that? Does anybody want to come off mute and give some feedback? Be nice to hear some voices. I don't bite, I promise. Avocado is very political. There's a shortage. Any comments? Okay, so now imagine you're at a workshop
Is this
and you need
feature
a
extraction?
feature extraction. Tell me
Yes.
more.
I was just wondering, since you're asking a lot of classification pointers, it should be, feature extraction, like color in your seeds and above the tree sort of things, and all sorts of parameters. Thank you.
So when I demonstrated the fruit, nobody talked about the standard of comparing the fruit when I held up the 3 different pieces of fruit, right? Nobody brought up standards until Mudhaven mentioned it, right? So we had no taxonomy for the data set, right? We decided to just analyze it and see what we got. And so now we're at taxonomy and standards. That's a whole module in the data playbook, by the way, on standards and how to talk about quality. And fruit is brought up again. In fact, we use fruit to show comparisons to talk about how to have common standards. And that comes from my colleague Amrit from the Asia Pacific office, where he said we need to use things that are common for people to be able to have, they feel like they can shape the standard. They understand, once they understand the data set and the composition of the data, they can understand the data standards. So what we learned in that 10 minutes? You can make a workshop out of anything in your house. You can have a shared conversation with strangers that maybe might bring quieter people into the conversation. Okay. You have a little bit of an icebreaker. I like to do this one either at the beginning of a workshop or right before lunch when people are like falling over, right? Because, policy standards, blah, 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 data protection. Okay, let's play with fruit, right? All of a sudden, your vibe changes, right? So you actually push energy in the room to have a shared conversation and maybe a little bit of fun, okay? We actually have a data quality exercise in the quality standards that my colleague Munu created it with AccuTabs, which I've used it with peanuts and with sunflower seeds. And I asked people to distribute the aid with a bag of sunflower seeds. And since it's in the guide there, I'll tell you the kind of chef point of it. Every single table sets up its own taxonomy without talking to each other, which is the whole point of open data, right? That we actually have a shared register of how we organize so that we can actually be able to compare, right? So we didn't have a shared register for our avocado or our lime, right? We had no shared list. We didn't make a list, we just drove right in. And so that's what happens often with data, right? But what we also need to do is when we're talking about standards is tell people why standards are important. And so we can say blah, 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 open data standard, Hexel, it's important. But if you show people that data quality fails with a bag of peanuts, that changes the whole dialogue. So that's what the playbook's built on, is simple things that we can use. So with this particular exercise, does anybody have any comments about things that you would do differently? And again, it's just very small, but it's just a quick thing that you can do wherever you are, to kind of drum up a little bit of energy in your room. Usually I bring enough fruit for people to eat, by the way. I can't throw that over the internet waves for you, but I usually bring a big bag of fruit to every workshop if I can. Because when we are doing things in person, people like nice things.
I really like this exercise because for all the reasons you said, it's very engaging, and got people's creative juices flowing. I wonder if in the breakouts, we would have been able to know exactly sort of like how to steer towards what questions we missed. So I don't, maybe that facilitator guide is in the data playbook, but if not, I would.
Yeah. So in the data playbook, there's guidance for facilitators, but generally it's up to the person who's hosting, and I would consider that all of us, right? So yeah, I personally would have gone to each room, Kat, and explained what I was doing. But part of the reason that you want to put people in small groups, and this is all throughout the playbook and everything you hear from Dirk Slater from Fab Writers, who's my co-editor, or from Alan Gunn from Aspiration, is that if you can put people in smaller groups, they're more comfortable talking, especially people who might not know each other, right? And they'll feel more comfortable going forward. But I like to use the chat when I'm on a call, because sometimes it makes for people to feel like, okay, that's okay, I don't have to speak up, right? Because I did ask a couple of times if people wanted to speak up, and maybe you're in some situation where talking is not appropriate, or it's too loud, or maybe you're not comfortable. So the chat becomes a proxy for how do you kind of have that human connection. Yeah. So I'm going to show you one other game, which is about data, but not data, that I learned from the Climate Center, okay? It's very quick, and it only works on Zoom. It doesn't work on Teams, okay? What color is my monitor? Is my thing. If you put a finger over your Zoom count, if you put a finger over it, it shows the color of your blood, okay? Obviously, I need more water. Look at that purple, right? It's a little game that can tell you, it tells you a little bit of data about somebody, which is kind of creepy, but helpful. But it's a fun way to kind of, at the start of a call or something, to kind of ask people fun questions. Now, I'd like to do one other exercise, which is going to change gears. But before I do that, and again, these are like weightlifting exercises, right? Really hard. But I wanted to show, instead of talking about the playbook, I wanted to show you how we use it, okay? So does anybody have questions or comments or feedback about the fruit exercise? And I did it rapidly. Sometimes you do it longer, depends on the room or the group. And you find a way to build it back into your conversation around you doing. Any other comments about the fruit exercise?
I am curious, Florence, how you feel about it since you run a digital skills conference. If you think this is
I am so excited. Like Hita can tell you, I just said, send me your email. I'm even drafting an email. I'm like, I feel so excited. I'm on this workshop and I'm gonna talk to Hita. I've already downloaded the playbook and I'm just immersed in it, and I feel so excited.
Wow. Well,
because we run series of workshops for 3 days, and sometimes it can be really boring, you know. You really want to bring some excitement into the workshops. It helps in absorption of the knowledge and what you're trying to teach. So this was really great. Yeah. And I've already sent you an email already.
I would say it teaches shared ownership. So we had Amadou speak just a little bit ago. And so I'm going to pick on Jeffrey because I can't remember, Jeffrey, if you were in the data protection workshop I ran at State of the Map for HOT in Heidelberg. I think you were in that room, right? Do you remember that? I can't remember. Jeffrey? Nope. Maybe he wasn't in that room. We can't hear you if you're off mute. I think there's something wrong with your sound, my friend.
Can you hear me now?
I can.
Yeah, something wrong with my mic. Yeah, so I was just saying that unfortunately I missed that workshop. Yeah, but
Okay.
I'm just a comment about the exercise we just did. I think
Mhm.
for me, what I liked about it most is like using simple things to explain very, very hard things, because sometimes there is a lot of like very, very difficult words around data, and yeah, explaining this to a group of people. Yeah, they just sometimes get lost into those trying to understand those difficult terms. So to explain it just using simple exercises like this, I think is just wonderful to run from. Yeah, I'd love to test it out with run one of the workshops with some of the groups I work with, and just see how they react to it.
Cool. And that's the way we designed it. We designed it so that you would remake it for your audiences. And so, of course, I'm most concerned about Amadou and the Red Cross, right? Red Cross, Red Crescent. Like we need to go and work within our communities for the kind of work and mandate we have. But we made it editable, which means that you can take out our examples, our scenarios, and make your own version. And I mentioned this to another group of CAT's colleagues that I spoke with a couple of weeks ago about the knowledge that you have in your communities is something that I'm just gonna name it. A white Ukrainian girl from Northern Canada has no clue about your communities. I should not be coming and running a workshop in your community. You should take some of our ideas and make it your own, and then make us better and make the corpus better. Meaning, and I know that sounds like a lecture because I feel like you all know this, but I think that my counterparts in the humanitarian world could learn a thing or two about that, is that we should not be doing as much as that anymore. We should be giving content out and remixing it. But my concern right now too is that the lessons you learn about working in the communities that you work in, that we learn from you, because I think that's where it's going to get better. And so we started a data literacy consortium specifically to have people who are teaching data skills. This is just a little tiny thing that my friends and I created because we felt that people who were using data training, it belongs not to our funders or to our organization, it belongs to the world. And so to me, I feel that the more that we kind of share best practices with each other, the better we're going to get. And so we'll have a meeting in September. And so there'll be a bunch of different people there. Okay. So when it comes to session design and session use, every single piece of the 120 items has some facilitator guidance. Okay. It has some guidance on what tools are you going to need for your workshop, and then not just what tools you're going to need, how much time you're going to need. And then again, if it doesn't work for your audience, just edit it. Just make a different version. Like it's just a draft, if you will, right? And I think that's the most important thing too, is that things that say, you know, cash transfer, blah, blah, blah for Red Cross might not necessarily mean something to a mapping community in Kenya for Laura, right? I think you're in Laura, you're in Kenya now. I can't remember if you've moved. Please do send a postcard if you change your address. Just kidding. So I'm going to do one more exercise, if that's okay. I'll take the liberty and just answer any questions. So this next exercise again, I won't try to put you in small groups, but I'm going to use the chat again. Okay. So I have this theory that every room has the smartest people in the world. Okay. And that the space between us makes whatever movement or whatever we're working on stronger. Okay. And I feel that because my mentor, Alan Gunn, has been very much encouraging that skill shares are essential for us to be able to move movements and move things forward. So when we think about open data, the more that we can skill share about what tips around advocacy or how to learn data or different parts of data, how to analyze it, how to merge data sets, all of those things are skills that are the new generations. And I say new generations, it's been like that for 30 years, but even more so that we need to learn it. And so there's a exercise in the module around data culture that says, what skills do you want to learn and what skills do you want to share? Okay, so I'm going to ask for each of you, and again, it's okay. I'm going to say, I want to learn behavior science. and how to do data analysis on it. There's like maybe one person in the world that might want to learn that today. So don't feel shy about what you think you want to learn. But why don't we start off with just a first round? And so what I normally do is get people to put it on sticky notes. So I'll use like a Jamboard if I'm doing it in a workshop online, or in person, I'll use sticky notes. And I'll have people just have small conversations. And in those small conversations, we'll get them to add what skills do they want to learn, what skills they want to share. Okay, so we're going to start off with skills to learn. And so at this particular moment in time, what skills do you individually want to learn around data and open data? Okay, just trust me, it actually becomes really interesting once you see crowdsourced data collection. I had somebody say they wanted to learn how to do gaming, and then another person who said, I just want to get better at Excel. Guaranteed. And in fact, Microsoft Excel was the top skill that people asked for around the world in the Red Cross. Hundreds of workshops I ran from 2016-14, top skill. So don't be shy. What skills do you want to learn? I want to learn Excel. Just kidding. Actually, I've learned to hire people who know how to use Excel. How does that, is that really a cop-out? It's terrible, isn't it? Static imagery analysis, very cool. Storytelling, very cool. Okay, have at it. Anybody else want to add their items? Okay, so you have a skills you want to learn. Okay, so now I'm gonna give it one more minute. Okay, just to chat. If you are DMing me instead of the group, maybe reach out to the group. It only gives you a sense of what people want to learn. Okay, then deep learning. Thanks, Bismarck. Okay, so I'm going to flip the switch. I'm going to go. What skills do you want to share? Okay, you've got, all of you have got some talent, some hidden talent. How to properly cut an avocado with no knife. Someone's got that skill, right? How to negotiate with your government to make open data a national-wide standard. Some of you got that skill. How to negotiate with your city, that's a skill. Okay, some of you got some things. Okay, I'll give it one more minute. Okay, then we're going to use the chat and we're going to compare. WordPress, very nice. Very nice. Mapping the data ecosystem. All right, these are skills you all have. Animation. Oh, well, who's my storytelling friend? Okay, so quickly, I'm going to ask you to do a quick analysis of the skills to share and the skills to learn and see if there's any overlap. Just quickly, top of your head, very quickly, just do an analysis and see if there's any overlap. Could you match each other to somebody? You can come off mute or you can type in the chat. Your choice. Any overlap? Yep. That's some overlap. There are some different ways to tell stories, whether it be mapping ecosystems and animation to, I think WordPress, that's a storytelling tool. Not enough people use WordPress for the things that could do video editing. Okay. So this was a I know I gave you kind of 2 or 3 really quick exercises. Usually I take a little bit more time when we spend time, but I just wanted to do quick demos that it's my theory that every community has already the base skills. We're just not asking each other, okay? And if we start from there and we skill share from there, we actually can move forward and we can find out if we have a gap as a community, we can go forward and add some more. And that's my cheap hack, because sometimes we have no budget And I literally used the head office as my chief hack. I'm like, hi, what skills do you want to learn? What skills do you want to share? And that became my curriculum for 2 years, which then became the playbook. And then I did that around the world, which became the new playbook. Okay. So we drilled in and we asked questions, and we wanted to understand what skills people wanted to learn. And we built on our strength, right? And I think the beauty of the, by default, you and me both, Slim, I didn't have a budget for the data literacy program for the Global Red Cross Red Crescent for a year. I just basically did everything I could to throw at it. And that's okay, because not everybody's comfortable with digital and technology, which actually makes you guys career people for life, because many organizations need those skills, right? And they're worried about not necessarily capitalizing, and they're worried about data protection. So you're already at the front of the line with some skills. But what I said to a humanitarian who said, I don't have the data skills, Heather, I'm very worried. I said, well, I don't know what it's like to be a humanitarian for 30 years. Let's trade. And so while I've been talking about skill shares here, there are people in your communities who know how to get to the bureaucracy. Somebody wrote bureaucracy there, that was Kat. Somebody knows how to work on advocacy, right? Somebody knows what the touch points are with it. And I bet you many of you have those. And so that to me is the power of communities and open data, and the power of the playbook idea. And again, just hats off to my mentors and allies and people who collaborated on it. Again, this was lots and lots of people involved, and their names, there's credit pages all over. But I just wanted to show you a little demo of how little small things can go a long way to building trust, building a common language, having a little bit of fun. Because people love to talk about what skills they have once you ask them, but I don't know many people who ask them, right? And if they do it in small groups, it's a little bit easier. But anyway, so those are some demos of it. Do you have any questions? We have something in the back of the playbook called curriculum templates, okay? And basically, it's basically conversations you need to have with your community and your network to design some literacy interventions. Like, what are those baby workshops going to be? What is the half an hour you're going to do? It helps you to plan and coordinate based on what are your goals and outcomes? What are your audience needs, your participants' needs? What is the goal you want to have in the long run? And so we made some draft ones there, but there's one for a whole country, a whole national society. There's one for the Tonga Red Cross, specifically on how to work with volunteers. But take a look at the curriculum templates, because we created those to be able to help people ask questions and design things together. So, but I'm here, I only have 10 more minutes. So I just want to ask any questions that people might have. And because I have done a lot of talking, I'd like to drink my water and hear a little bit more about, like, what problems are you trying to solve with data, and what's your journey been like? Over. You know, Mahavan, I think I only had 1 cup of coffee today. That was a big mistake. It just didn't want to be dehydrated because of the heat. But thanks for the hands.
Thanks for sharing that little piece of data.
Yeah, I know. Now you have a spreadsheet of my quirkiness, right? You can get really creepy with data, collecting data when people are talking, for sure. Like, how many times did I use the Canadian accent? Go ahead, please.
Well, I don't really work with open data. I work with my job data. So it's mostly product and people data. So, but it's very difficult to actually marry the two, you know, to know, for example, to predict which or what kind of person will buy a certain type of product, because you don't have enough information about the person. You only have, like, for example, an email address, a name, and a number. You don't have anything else. You don't have nice things like, I don't know, age, gender, other interests, you know, those kind of things. And it's difficult to actually get that kind of data. Now, obviously this is not open data, but yeah, it's kind of not a question, but rather the dilemma that I'm sitting with, that I struggle with every day. Like, how do I actually make use of all the data that I have and how can I make it work or help me, work for me or help me.
So I think, I'm a product manager, right? Like that's my background. And I think it's really important. In the old days, they used to say do focus groups. I think it's really important to have owners of the product before the product even launches. And I've watched it happen time and time again in my organization where they're like, hi, we launched it. Okay, now get us users. I'm like, whoa, right? So I think your point around how do I make a human-centered design project is essential, right? And I think there's a lot of really good product groups out there, but my favorite these days, this guy here, John Cutler, I love reading his stuff, Shante. He really nails the story around who are we serving, what are we building, and moreover, just I think I got to get the right link for you, okay? I think there's lots of different people out there who are good product managers, but I think it comes to what's a good product and what's a good product manager, right? And I think as you're on that journey, there's a lot of really interesting courses out there. And so here, let me give you his thing. And then I took a course just on behavior change, and not just on behavior change, but on applied behavior design. And I did because I was very worried that I didn't think that something I was creating could help the participants, like help the project I was working on. So this course was a bit expensive. Okay, so I'm just going to tell you about it now. He's got a lot of free templates on his website. His name is Brian, and he's got a lot of videos online too, right? So I'm all about, like, if I can find something free, I'll take the free. But sometimes you do have to pay. So, but I did take this course, and it was the best product management course I've taken. And I've been through Lean Startup. I've been through user-centered design workshops. I've read every HDC book out there, but this was my favorite because it really asks for what change do you want with a product. I don't know if it'll help, Shanta, but you're welcome to contact me after. We can talk product stuff. I think it's super hard. I think it's hard. I think it's hard in a long way, right? Because I think what we're all creating is products and services. And I think when we talk about capacity building, sometimes I feel like we don't really think about what's in it for people, what the value proposition is for them. They're busy, they have lives, they got kids to get to school. You have to really get in that headspace and understand how to use the data well and appropriately. Now, I think there was another comment in the chat. How do we calculate reach? Okay, can you tell me a little bit more about that question? That was Madhaven.
Hi.
Calculate reach.
Hi. Hello. So reach is calculated like how many people this particular blog or this particular content can be read or something like that. This term is generally used in social media and social networks. So is it rightly used, or is it wrongly used? That's sort of when it comes to data play, the data book actually. Thank you.
That's a super hard question. There is in the data quality module, we have something about counting people. We also have some exercises. Okay, that's how I'm going to pull this. In the module 9 about data for decision making, we ask questions about what is evidence and how do you make decisions with evidence, because if you don't make a weighted decision and consider bias, you could be in trouble. In module 6, it's about data analysis. There's a whole exercise. There's 2 or 3 exercises in there that talk about how you're counting people, how you're doing reach. As for analysis, a deeper analysis, this is just a first pass for, I like to think of this as like the junior class. Like we have more senior data analysis in the humanitarian space in my organization. We're doing highly qualified AI and data science stuff. And I thought that's fantastic, but that's not for everybody in my organization. So I would take a look at the module 6 and module 9 and see if they make sense to you, and as well the counting people chart. But when you're talking about social media and ethics and protection, like you really have to decide what you're counting and why you're counting it. And also who gets to decide what's important. I think the thing that bothers me the most about counting people and counting data is that what matters for one person might not necessarily matter for others. So I don't know if that helps. Any other questions or comments? I know we're at the top of the hour, Kat.
Okay. Anybody else for Heather? Okay, usually at this time we run a Menti, but since we just have 2 minutes left, if you all want to drop either in the chat or feel free to share. Sorry, James has just shared a link to another resource, qualitative for purchase, for monitoring. That's great. Okay, so the reason that we were able to hear from Heather this month is that you all shared who you would like to hear from or what topics you would like to learn. So for those who said that this is the best workshop they've been to in 2 years or 2.5 years, the reason for that, very sweet, but very true, is because you asked for it. So I am very happy to, and the network is very happy to chase down if there are topics, if there are speakers, if there's something that you're seeing in the news that you want to learn more about, please. Or if you have work that you need to share, please do let us know. So let's see if I can, you all are welcome to share in the chat. I know that is sometimes a little bit scary, but we can, I can send a Menti link to anybody who joined. And I just want to thank you all for taking the time to come in today.
Thanks for inviting me into your circle, and don't forget, there's a playbook in each one of you. There really is. No, there really is. There really is. There's so much out there that needs to happen to move this in a inclusive and equitable and fair way. There's so much to be done. So have fun, and then tell us what we learned from you. Okay. Bye. Thanks, Amadou, for letting me pick on you earlier. And Jeffrey.
Great. Yeah. Thank you all. Thank you so much, Heather, for joining us. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks for the honor.
Thank you,
Yeah, you're
Catherine,
helping me actually. I have to write something, so you're helping me actually. Thanks, Lawrence. Bye, everyone.
Wonderful.
Bye.
Okay. Have a great rest of your day. Bye all.